Breckensy High Fashion? Well, I hope so. Here they are. They're on the phone. Listen, High Fashion, known for their pulse-pounding electro rhythms and arresting visual style.
Great.
So we have Jen and Rick of High Fashion here on the phone. And
hi.
How did you two meet?
It's a long and sordid story, Ghosty. We met several different times, but the very, very first time we met was in New York. There's a bar called Pyramid, and we were both there. We were there dancing, and it was dark, and it was smoky, and it was a different time in both of our lives. And I would just go with us on this one. I looked a lot more like a guy. I was passing as a guy a little bit more, and Rick tried to hit on me.
Yeah.
And then we, shortly thereafter, it was all revealed, like, oh, hey, I'm a girl, and you thought I was a guy, and you were hitting on me, but I still think you're cute and great. And so we just ended up, like, staying in touch, and over the course of the years, sort of, like, kept crossing paths, and then we met through some mutual friends who were in New York, and then Rick got involved in a few fundraisers that I was doing. Once I got out in LA, I was organizing some events to raise money for local nonprofits, and it involved a lot of musicians getting together and doing like tribute nights. And so Rick got on board for one of them, and then I think it's the spark for. Say that again.
I said it was the Pixies. We sang
It was the Pixies.
Together.
Yeah, it was a Pixies tribute. And there were, if there weren't already like creative sparks flying, it was definitely, solidified then. And we kind of always knew we needed to do something with each other. And then it just sort of happened. And Rick one day was like, "Look, do you want to be in a band? Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I was supposed to like do this like metal band. Soundtrack with this other person, and it just totally, I didn't feel right. And then Rick wrote a few tracks. He wrote the orchestration for some songs, and I listened to them, and I was like, oh, we have to do this. And it just like clicked, and it's been fireworks. It's been incredible.
I like the fact that you're meeting, the way you described it, it was this almost film noirish type of thing in a smoky bar, and.
But it was all in black and white.
Of course. And Rick, I guess you'd probably been playing music, since you were a kid?
Yeah, I actually studied piano. My dad's a musician, and I studied piano for like 12 years as a kid. And then I was in a band in New York that had a little mini moment in the early 2000s that was called OptiGrab. And that was really the first band I was ever in. And so then... but I hadn't really done anything since then until Jen and I found each other again.
So I have to ask about your decision to make, I think you've made videos for every song on this EP that you have out.
We're doing pretty good. Like, we have some official and some non-officials, I guess I should say. But, yeah. Like, the most recent one was Amazing, which I directed, and that one's been getting a really great response. And it's funny because on that album, it's probably the oldest song that we had, but I know we kept waiting for the perfect moment to make the video.
I was going to ask if that was an intention right from the start to also have a very strong visual element, a theatrical element to go along with just making the music.
I would say, I'll jump in and just say, to see one of our shows is kind of like a giant dance costume drama. So it's always been, when we first started playing, we thought we were going to do a little bit more of a crazy art project, and we still are somewhat presenting ourselves that way. So we were kind of performing in like performance art kind of spaces with dancers and non-dancers and lots of costumes, and I think that actually hasn't really changed. That's pretty much what we're doing, only we're doing it more in music spaces with somewhat more commercial-sounding music, maybe. But we would love to have you on stage, Ghosty, so there's definitely a costume for you if, we're playing in New York next week, so please.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What is it, the CMJ showcase?
Yes, we're playing two different shows. We're playing Perez Hilton's show on the 18th, which is really exciting, and then we're playing the Monarch Presents, who's our booking agent, his showcase on the 19th, and both of which we're looking for dancers that we don't know, actually, in New York and in the area that want to just sign up and be on stage in costumes and stuff. So that's always a giant dynamic aspect of what we're doing.
Well, now that you've just announced that you're looking for dancers over the radio, you're probably going to get guys show up who will dress as a pirate and just lay on the stage and moan,
which I love. I'm so down for that.
No one's mad at that. No one's mad at that.
As long as they're in our color scheme, I'm cool with it.
The first track I ever played from this EP was "I'm Not Madonna," and I have to say the reaction immediately, right after I played it, was pretty good. I've just kept playing it and playing it and playing it.
That's awesome.
Oh, good. That's great.
That's awesome.
It's funny because some people thought that it was a song that came out somewhere in like the early 80s because it has a little bit of an early 80s sound.
Funny. Oh, wow.
Okay, I love it.
Uh-huh.
What, and this is almost like a boring question, and you guys are not boring at all, but I have to ask about musical influences.
Oh, sure.
What were you listening to?
Question. It's actually, the answer is always really insane. You start, Jen, because yours are the most crazy, I think.
Well,
what is she going to say, Metallica?
Well, I have a lot of influences and inspiration for sure for how I perform and also my approach to writing and singing with Rick. And I will say absolutely that the band that got me involved in music is Fugazi, which maybe wouldn't have been your guess. But there you have it, because they were just my inspiration. When I was a teenager, I'm sorry if you can hear a rooster in my backyard, because there's actually a rooster in my backyard.
Okay.
His alarm is going off a little late, and he's just now going. And I just loved their message. I loved how political they were. I loved how, the consciousness that they had and the community that they created was really appealing and scintillating to me. And so I used to go to them all the time. And I always felt like, I want to be in a band like this. Like, I want to do this. I want to do this. But I never actually thought, okay, I'm going to do this. It was just always a fantasy. But they just have always kind of inspired me. And they ultimately are the reason why I jumped in with this project with Rick. But on the other end of the spectrum, Prince has always been an inspiration to me. I love his catalog of music so much, and I grew up listening to him. I have an older sister who just had everything on vinyl, and it was what I was brought up on, and Madonna too, for that matter. And then
Madonna's awesome.
And Madonna, even if I'm not her absolute biggest fan, I have the utmost respect for that woman, and it's in my DNA. Like, I was listening to
totally
everybody on vinyl and dancing in my bedroom mirror,
Totally.
Doing jazzercise or something.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Rick?
So,
my side of the world is probably, I would say, goes to the Eurythmics, Depeche Mode, Yoko Ono, Nina Hagen.
Okay.
And then Peaches and MIA always as just like a basic standard. I adore those two women. They're like the bookends of my brain. So I like punky to new wavy, hip hoppy, dancey. That combo. And my own personal interest in music has always been really bonkers and in all 50,000 directions, I would have to say, too. I went metalheads when I was in grammar school. Like, everybody listened to Iron Maiden. I lived in New Jersey.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
I feel like that somehow inspired me, too, in some crazy way. But definitely, the Eurythmics to Brodsky Beat is kind of like a heavy, in the way that I actually end up writing, has a lot to do with them.
Before I let you go, because we're going to run out of time here, but Have you heard anything from? I don't want to make it sound like I'm just focusing on the one song, but it's the one that I really play. Have you heard anything from Madonna's camp? Which I'd love to go to. I'd love to go to that camp, Camp Madonna. That would be interesting.
Camp Madonna! Oh my God, we could actually be counselors at Camp Madonna at this point, I think.
Have you heard anything from her people regarding the song?
Well, I mean, I would say we actually formally invited her. We were last year. We were flown into New York to play the Absolute birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
Their 30th birthday party, and because we knew we were going to be playing in New York too, and because I feel like we knew that she was in New York for some reason, we actually sent an invitation to her representation saying we would love to have her come to the show. And I feel like her camp is aware of us. We'll put it that way. Okay. Her camp is aware of us. We have not been given any kind of response from her at this time, personally, but they seem to be aware of us.
We were told by several people that her camp was aware of us.
Okay.
I mean, if only because all the Madonna fans love it, which is great. I mean, all of her, like all the bloggers and everybody else that are really wildly obsessed Madonna fans are totally into it, which is so great. So they all are kind of like tweeting and blogging about it back and forth, which is really nice.
There was an awesome moment on Twitter when if you looked up, if you did a search on Madonna, it would be like a screen grab from our video for our I'm Not Madonna right next to Madonna in concert, and it was like those were the most tweeted about versions of Madonna on Twitter, and
crazy.
I was like, wow, that's happening. Oh my God.
I'm going to have to wrap this up because we're going to be running out of time. But thanks so much for coming on. Nice to hear from you guys. And if I can dress up like a pirate and go on stage and lay on the stage and moan, I will try to do it at your CMJ show.
We hope you will.
You'll get a formal invitation for that, Ghosty. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for having us.